If someone is working towards a weight management goal and they're trying to figure out how to incorporate carbs, I think sometimes what happens is somebody might find a recipe that is intended for a low carb or a keto style eating plan. That's actually just happened this week with one of my clients. It's a really great example where they went from a meal that did contain carbs to a meal that had no carb at all. And actually, I encouraged the choice because this meal that she chose had protein and vegetables, and it was a really super healthy meal. But I think I was fairly certain she might feel hungry afterwards. And in fact, that was a question she had, is what happens if I'm extra hungry? Well, if your body is using carbohydrates as its energy source and you don't give it any carbohydrates and you haven't switched over to using ketones for energy and nutritional ketosis, which is another topic, but knowing that you are going to use carbohydrates for energy, you do need to add a little bit of carbohydrate to that meal. So she had her chicken and her veggies. She just needed to add a whole grain or a whole carbohydrate food, like a baked potato or a sweet potato would work. She could also do things like wild rice, brown rice, quinoa, or a whole grain called farro. I love making farro. It's a newer grain for a lot of people. A lot of folks have heard of quinoa, but they may not have heard of farro. It's another whole grain like quinoa. And you could use farro as your grain. You can use something like Brussels sprouts, as roasted Brussels sprouts, as your vegetable. You could use chickpeas, a protein source, as well as carbohydrate and fiber. And you have a really nice meal that doesn't necessarily fit the typical chicken and vegetables. It may feel a little bit more exciting. You're eating more carbohydrates, but you're really smart with the type of carbohydrates you're eating. And if you are wanting to get a little extra protein, you could add some Mediterranean spices, which aren't going to add the protein, but add a lot of flavor. And then maybe some tzatziki, which is made from Greek yogurt, which would add a little extra protein for you. In my Metabolic Magic program, we talk so much about lifestyle change mindset versus the dieting mindset, where we know that with lifestyle change, it's progress over perfection, and it's seeing anything that we are doing as potential trial and error. And that's okay. If we try something and it doesn't work for us, then we learn something about ourselves and we get feedback. So I always tell my clients, especially in Metabolic Magic, there is no failure, there is just feedback. And then we move forward.